Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Let's talk about the overnight setup. Let's see what it looks like. So the London session built underneath the Asia session, kind of setting us up for a sweep, possibly at both sides. Looked like it wanted to really push. From the get go, we had a pretty interesting data point. We had this 91% chance here, really to go take out the middle of this area here, right? So this this purple line here. So if we turn on our auto mapper, you can see that actually even increased a bit more up to like 94%. And then we ended up looking at roughly 89.2, so almost 90% to go take out the overnight high, which is the high of the Asia session. Now, the interesting thing here, if we flip back over to our data, as we start digging into overnight highs and lows and all that. So if we look here, the most likely time to put in a low was 3 a.m. Right, it's a pretty solid margin on that. The ES, the Dow, all of them had a very similar data point. That doesn't mean we won't try to go sweep. It's just saying that it's highly likely that the low is in. Now, this data here is telling us that it's likely we'll attempt a sweep because sometimes it sweeps and sometimes it doesn't. They all had a very similar setup like this. So this told us very likely at the open, we're going to go sweep the high. Very likely at the open, we're going to go sweep the low, possibly to put in a high at the end of the day. All right. So these are pretty standard data points. If we flip over here, what we'll see with an interesting setup is that this actually told us there's much more likely of an opportunity to go sweep the high first and then possibly come back down and attempt that low sweep. So this is the data that we went on. All right. So we take these areas here as being our initial highs of days if we're going to go sweep the highs. And then we look at this data here to see how far the low was put in. And it turns out if we kind of measure this out, this low was a pretty solid low. All right. So we had 2 or 3 options here to try to trade this. All right. So our options are we can build along to go take it into this first range right here, into this zone here, right? Or we can look to try to possibly get here, go sweep this area here, short it back down. Or we can just assume that today the low is in, right? The low is put in here, and any pullback we could try to take back long, right? Because we know the attempted sweep is going to be there, but it seemed a bit more likely that we were going to continue to try to drive up into the close. Right? No guarantees because, nothing's guaranteed. It's just the statistical data. So the way that I presented the trade this morning was to go play the sweep of the high, right? This thing was going to drive up. We were going to build a short and hit this range, possibly with a reach up into this range for another add to take this thing back down. Now, where do we take it down to? We have 2 or 3 areas. So we go take this thing up at the open, right? Because we were pretty sure this was going to happen, right? So we get our add, we get our entry here, we get our entry here, and possible add up here, which we never got the third one, right? We ended up coming back down. So if you're going to scale out of this, the first place you're going to scale out of it is going to be around this 930 range right here. And we had some data points that started falling off as we got lower. So as we started to pull through this 930 opening area, down here is kind of where we wanted to attempt to finish scaling out of it, or we could hold on to a runner, see if this thing bounced, and then just close out that last runner if we don't make it through the low. And, that kind of turns out that's what happened, right? We just bounced, kind of held up to build this pattern to the upside. So then near the close of the day in the room, what we started doing is measuring out these highs of days. Where are they going to take us? So, we're looking somewhere in here, possibly a little further up in this range. It's the same with the ES, right? We got this ES end of day. It's looking like it's going to try to reach up into this area here just because there are 2 patterns that kind of close out right in this range right here around this 59, 52, 59, 48, somewhere in that range. If you continue going, you can squeeze this thing out to like 59.64 on the ES, and then of course, if we don't get rejection, that thing just keeps going. But yeah, so very similar with the NQ, right? This thing's just wanting to go finish out and build a pattern right up into here. And I mean, and here we are, right? So this thing will either continue to reach up or into this hour, we're going to try to pull back down and possibly go sweep this low area down here. Now, if we continue to reach up, we're going to try to go push up here to this 21,594. So, yeah, I don't really have much else for the day. I mean, if we're going to talk cheat codes, I mean, the cheat codes were at the open of the day, right? We were pretty certain the low of day was in, and that really turned out to be the case. So, if we took our shorts, we closed them out around the 930 zone. If we built our longs, we just basically built them on all of the pullbacks. So, yeah, I hope everybody had a great day. You know where to find us. If you want to be part of this, man, come on.